Hello everyone, welcome to this video which is going to be all about this tournament rating system that we are implementing. Um, so the reason we're doing this is because we have our own community, just with tournaments. We don't really want you to be able to, play a bunch of random people and just grind rating points like that. That's not really how this works. So with Jagex's rating system for Conquest, again, you can just go, you can grind a bunch of noobs. You'll actually get a decent amount of points that way, an exponential amount, in fact. So this system actually is not going to be so high. So we have this tournament that's coming up. We'll talk about that in a second. But some stuff about ratings. So we have some players as high as like 10k, right? For the regular Jagex rating. But, that's not a really good indicator of skill once you get past like a certain point. Because a 10k player is going to know even a 2k player still has a pretty decent chance to beat them. The reason this is because let's say you're just beating straight 1,000 players just all day. When you get to double your current ranking, so like 2,000, that's when you're going to start to get half the number of rating points. So when you're 1,000 versus a 1,000, you get like 30 points, I believe it is, for beating that 1,000. Then when you get to 2,000, you're going to start getting 15. And, double that up to 4,000, you're going to get like 6 or 7. And, yeah, you're going to rack up a lot of points, actually, before you start to notice that decline. So this one we're using is going to actually curb that. It's logarithmic, just to counter this, because it's pretty exponential when you think about it. It's not really linear. So when you beat an opponent that's I believe it's 200 points that's below your rating, they actually give you half the points. So you don't have to be double, you just have to be 200 points above them. So if they're 400 points below you, it's going to give half of half, so a fourth of the points. So you're not going to get a lot of points just by beating a lot of noobs. And I also know that you can't really do that when it's a tournament anyway. But sometimes when you have a round robin, you might play a lot of weaker players, so you're not going to get a lot of points out of them that way. But you might lose a lot of points if one of them beats you. So this is also going to become a representation of your winning odds. So I think the number is, if they're like 200 points higher than you, then they're going to beat you 2-1, and I think that's where this half number comes from. I might actually be wrong. But let's say you play someone 200 points higher. In a perfect world, they're going to beat you 2 times every time you beat them once. And if this happens, then both of your ratings are going to stay exactly equal. So if you start beating them 1-1, maybe you gain 100 points and maybe they lose 100 points. So y'all come equal. Or, maybe if they're beating other players and they're maintaining that rating to offset what you've subtracted from them, maybe you go up to 200. But again, in a tournament, you're not going to be playing the same player all the time. You're going to be having a variety of different opponents. So it's not about just 1 versus 1. It's about how you would fare against, say, everybody who has a certain rating or a certain range of ratings. So everyone's going to start at 1,500. So in contrast to RuneScape, where you start at 1,000. So we're defining 1,500 as the average tournament player, because these are tournament ratings. So if a lot of weaker players come in, then the average tournament rating is actually going to be it's still going to be 1,500. That's average, but you might notice a lot of other people go up because of those weaker players, because now those players are above average. So this 1500 actually isn't going to be very accurate until you've played a few tournaments and a few games, obviously. So you might, it's very likely you're above or below 1500. So until you have some sort of threshold of games or tournaments, we're going to say your rating is provisional. So we actually have special titles for players with a high rating. So we'll look at those in a second. It's going to be like Class A, Class B. We might change them to things like Knights and Scouts, Champions even. So if your rating is low from this system, you don't want to be discouraged. So first, remember it's a representation of your winning odds versus someone. And the other thing is it just means you're going to get a lot of rating points. If you train up, you improve yourself, you study. So your skill increases, and then you're going to go into a tournament, and you're going to beat a lot of people because, remember, since your rating is low, a lot of other people are going to be higher than you. So you're going to beat a lot of people, right, after you've trained up. And then you're actually going to see yourself get a lot of extra points. So it's a ladder to climb, not a well to fall into. Right, so you can actually use this to track your progress, maybe see how well your training is going. Maybe if you're not seeing results you want, maybe that's an indicator that you need to switch how you're tackling these problems, how you're thinking about training. So let's see. So with that in mind, the ratings I've given have actually been changing quite a lot. So I think I need to do something about that. I might like cut it in half, something like that. But so we have this Google sheet. I'll link that in the description. I'll also link this tournament quick find code in the description, but you can find it on this page as well. So last updated, this is all updated by me. Maybe I'll let other people edit it if I'm like busy or something, or I don't know, maybe there's like too many things for me to manage. But I mean, I have the program that does all the math and stuff like that, so anyways, so again, all players start at 1500. We've got provisional ratings. So I just really pulled these numbers out of my butt. 10 and 50. I only did that because there are 10 colors here. Maybe I'll change this to 5 and 25. But we've got this color scale here, right? Because I just stole this right from this. So in this, we've got your RuneScape name, your ID. We have your standard ELO. So ELO isn't an acronym. It's actually just some guy's last name. This column is your tournament games that you've played. This is the tournament number of tournaments you've played in, and these are your flags. So, for example, flags, we have these different colors. So red means you're banned from our tournaments, maybe temporarily, maybe permanently. That's going to be if you do something like cheating, using glitches. If you have an orange, that just means to come find me. So green means you're a very active player. You've been playing in all the tournaments we've been putting out recently. And this blue is going to be for inactive players. So that's going to be if you see someone with a high rating, it's not really going to mean too much if they can't keep it up, right? So if they're inactive, that probably means they're scared of losing their rating. That's why they're not playing. It also might mean, let's say that, they're on some sort of like holiday. Maybe they're taking a year off of RuneScape. When they come back, they're actually going to be kind of rusty, right? So that's another thing it might mean. So I also have this rating graph, and I've sort of color-coded the rating changes. I might change this so it makes more sense later. But basically, this is minus 50, this is plus 50, this is plus 0 to 9. But anyways, let's look at this section over here first. So we have, again, your RuneScape name, your ID, your rating, games, tournaments, and flags. So these brighter kind of colors here, these are going to be the different titles we were talking about. So everyone starts out as a Class C, because that's where 1500s are. So Class C, and Class F is the lowest. That's a novice player. And then as we go up, we have social players, strong social players, your average player, strong tournament players, top amateur players. Nobody is here yet. We haven't really had enough games for that. We have expert players, and then you have master, senior master, and grandmaster. So senior master and grandmaster, normally you put it at like 2400 and maybe 2600, but these are going to be like special titles. Like maybe you have to go to like maybe excluding like the first few grandmasters that we have. Maybe you have to go to like a special grandmaster tournament, and maybe you have to like win at least half your games at the grandmaster tournament, something like that. But these are going to be like special titles, as opposed to just having a certain rating. So currently our top player, we have Rage, but there's a bit of discrepancy in some of these tournaments. So I think Rage and Member should actually be a bit more equal. But we'll look at what happened in these tournament games. And you can see I gave these three players, so Rage, Member, and Range Till, I gave them the green flag because they have 3 tournaments, because we've only had 3 tournaments. So I'm right here. I'm just 30 points above average, so not too much, at least yet. So let's see. So we got our bottom players over here. So this actually isn't too low. So yeah, so I colored this the kind of yellow color, because again, this is a more provisional kind of rating. Not as provisional as these red colors, right? So the reds are going to be your very provisional. So people with like 1 tournament game. And so these players over here only have 1 game total, so I made this extra red. So if you're looking at ratings, you're going to want to look at this more magenta, blue, purple kind of range. And even better is going to be if their rating is white. That means they're not provisional. That means it's actually a pretty good indicator of what their rating is. So if they're red, so these players, they're right here. They have plenty of provisional time, I guess you could call it, to jump up in this ladder. I think a lot of them actually got kind of unlucky from like the first tournament, or like the first tournament they joined, because again, everybody's going to be 1500. So if they lost to like our current top player, they still lose the same amount of points from that. But if they lose to our top player right now, now they're not going to lose as many points, right? Because now his rating would be above theirs. All right, so I think a lot of these people got kind of unlucky in that respect. But if you want to look at only the non-provisional and active players, so you might call these the relevant players, right? Because they're the ones that are actually, playing in things, and they're not very new. So this is going to be very accurate of, what they've been doing. I have this other tab down here for non-provisional active, but we don't actually have any non-provisional players, so this is just everyone with like 2 tournaments or more. Now, we also have this ID lookup, so You can kind of guess that this ID is like the first three characters from your name. But maybe you have the same first three as someone else, and I have to change that around. So there's this ID lookup page. So this is sorted by your most recent name. It's actually not sorted by ID. So you can look for your name in here, and that'll tell you what your ID is. And here are your alternate names, or like if you've changed your name, it'll be listed over here. So if you have an alternate name or something that's not listed in this other column, or maybe farther to the right is where I'll start listing them if you have more than one. So if there's one that's not listed, then just shoot me a message and I'll add it in here so everybody knows. So you can also use Control F to search if you think this is a lot to look through, although it is alphabetical. So you can use Control F to search for anything. So let's search for Icy. That's going to be me. So there are actually 3 Icies in this page. So here's the first one in green, second one, and third one, right? And so this last page is our tournaments page. Now this is actually up here it's not the most recent. The most recent is at the bottom, so this is going to be our oldest tournament. So this one was the June 2015 double elimination tournament. Quick find code to the RuneScape forums. This is the person who posted it, and I guess was directing it. So the prizes for this one are actually unlisted, and I've actually not got all the information from this tournament. So remember, if you're watching this, you need to shoot me a message so we can get some of this stuff sorted out. So that's not going to be a good representation. Let's actually start with the November 2016 double elimination, right? So Rage TDing this one. This one only had a first place prize for 15 million. So here we have the standings, right? So you have your different places, like these 2 players tied for third, right? And you have their score over here. And this yellow box means I'm missing something. We'll look at that in a second. And here we have your ELO change. So on the left is what it started at, and on the right is what it changes to. So, and here's the difference, so you don't have to do the math yourself. So plus 93 for player who won all of their games. Right, and then we have the different rounds. So this tournament's already been completed, so you'll see these kind of green and red boxes. So the green boxes are the player who won. The red boxes are the player who lost. If the tournament is in progress, these boxes will be white if they haven't played yet. And if it's a draw, I'll probably keep it a blue color. Or, yeah, I'll keep it a blue color. And we have all the different rounds. Maybe down here in the notes I should add, like, which players got eliminated. Maybe that would help so you don't have to try to figure out which 2. Right, and so over here we have this kind of discrepancy. We had Rage played the same. He played twice in round 4. I don't think that was the case. I'm pretty sure Member played one of these opponents here. So I'm guessing Member actually had 4 points for the 4 rounds instead of just 3 and Rage having 6. Because if Rage had 6 points, that wouldn't make sense with 5 rounds. So I'm guessing he had 4 points. Right, so we go all the way to the finals here. And yeah, and then here are the placings. So with this one up here, I can't really do any of this stuff without the final rounds and these other missing things. If there's an asterisk, there's going to be a note at the bottom. So like this first one, I don't know, it looks like Iceflux played twice, but maybe that's because Phantom King was actually kicked in his game versus Clanix for whatever reason. So I don't know if Iceflux is just like a substitute player or like if he got repaired, but I don't know. This first tournament really needs to be sorted out. So Plain Sight withdrew, so that's a darker shade of red because we don't really want that happening in our tournament, so that's considered a bad thing if you're going to constantly withdraw early on in the tournament. Alright, so the December 2016 Swiss. So this one had more than first place, right? And standings over here. Different rounds. So Magma Fox over here was disqualified because he didn't show up. And then over here we have a double forfeits. That's going to be what happens if neither player shows up. Double forfeits are actually going to hurt your rating. Again, I might tweak this so that for these first tournaments, maybe it doesn't affect your rating, but maybe for the later ones it doesn't. I'll have to decide on that. Yeah, so this is extra red, because we don't want you just not showing up. So, at least up here with Plain Sight, he told someone before he was leaving, if you just, so we can repair your opponent with someone, but if you just don't show up, that's not going to be good because your opponent is not going to have anyone to play, and they won't even know it. And then there's this thing called a bye if you don't have an opponent. So it's basically just a free win for you. It doesn't affect your rating, but gets you an extra point and a round off. So you can't have more than one bye in a tournament. That's the only kind of rule with that. And if we do tournaments with tie breaks, like Swiss has a lot of tie breaks typically. So normally we'll do a playoff for the first kind of prizes. So if two players have the same score, then they're going to go head to head. Maybe if that's a constant draw, or maybe we have like three players and they have this like combat triangle thing going on where they all end up getting 1 point. Then we do this thing called tie breaks, and we basically look at the opponents you played and what their score was. So if you beat a lot of people who had higher scores, you're actually going to get a higher place. And if you beat if you beat a lot of people who didn't have very many points in the tournament, that's going to hurt you in tie breaks. So a bye is also going to hurt you in tie breaks. Maybe we also do a thing where if you're tied for if two people are tied for second, then we combine second and third and split it. It just kind of depends on the tournament, right? So we have this upcoming tournament, our May 2017 split round robin. Quick find code. I'll link that in the description. You can see our prizes here. So this tournament has not actually started. So here is the link. So it's going to start 22nd of May, so y'all have like a week, and there is exactly one spot left over. Maybe I can convince whoever is running it to open up extra spots, because powers of 2 are nice, so 16 spots I think would have been ideal. But maybe they don't want it going on forever, so I don't blame them. They want to split it into 2 sections of 6, and they're going to have like the top players from each section play each other. I think that's the gist of it. Yeah, and there's also going to be like a losers bracket in case you weren't one of those top 2 players, just in case you want some more games and some more ranking. There you go. So, I guess the pairings are going to be on this page. I will also put them on this page over here. I'll try to update it as soon as I get those pairings. Maybe I'll be like a day behind on that, but that's not going to be too bad, right? Because tournament's not running all in one day. Yeah, guys. If you want to sign up, there's exactly 1 spot left over. We're gonna have some more tournaments in the future. Let's see. Ooh, did I show the? I don't believe I showed the rating graph. So these are our 3 tournaments that have been completed. This is our next one, and you can just track, how many points someone has gained. Maybe you can see like a point where they've been inactive, and then like after that they get some points. Maybe they were training in that time. I don't know. But I think rating graphs are pretty cool. So I'm going to sort of try to implement one. Maybe this will actually look better. Maybe I'll actually have each month instead of just this gap that you have to calculate yourself. But yeah, guys, that's been it for the rating system. So if you want to get rated, join this tournament, maybe one of the other ones. Maybe I'll convince someone to have more than 12 players if possible. I really think this tournament can have a lot more than 12 players if it's going to be a round robin. It's actually a split round robin, but it can have more players. So thank you all for watching, and again, links are in the description, and join me again next time.